is that eventually there will be knowledge systems that will govern society, which will be perfectly rational. And because they're so rational, they will not be understandable by the average human because they can't explain themselves.
There's a saying you'll hear now and again that says Democrats don't want conservatives to speak, but conservatives want Democrats to talk more. Democrats are censoring and banning conservatives, but conservatives want Democrats to speak more openly. We want them to talk in detail and provide specifics, which they seldom ever do, because if they explain themselves thoroughly, everyone will see the sham they're trying to pull. So when Democrats do speak honestly about their intentions, it becomes a blessing to conservatives. For example, take former Google CEO and Hillary Clinton crony Eric Schmidt. Schmidt went on the Hoover Institution to promote his new book about artificial intelligence, because the Hoover Institution has completely lost its way and now promotes tyrants they claim to be against, but that's neither here nor there. Eric Schmidt is your prototypical coastal elite whose God complex is so out of control it may only rival Barack Obama. And boy, if you think the global elites are tyrannical today, just wait until you hear what they have planned for us in the future.
The important point is humans are not mathematically as precise as we wish that we are. And indeed, human intuition is often wrong. And so one of the concerns that we have, which we state in the book, is that eventually there will be knowledge systems that will govern society, which will be perfectly rational. And because they're so rational, they will not be understandable by the average human because they can't explain themselves. And Dr. Kissinger points out that in history, one of two things happens in that case. Either you have a revolution in the form of guns against the man, if you will, or you have a new religion. And we speculate that one of those two will occur as a result of these extremely large gains in perception from non-animate intelligences. So the thought experiment is that instead of Dr. Fauci, we have an all-knowing computer, which basically pronounces important things for health. And it can't explain itself.
When Google's DeepMind announced that after just a few hours of training itself to play the game, their AlphaZero program had defeated what was then the world's most powerful chess program, Stockfish 8. Now I'm going to quote the book. The tactics AlphaZero deployed were unorthodox. It sacrificed pieces human players consider vital, including its queen. And later, a few pages later, you raise a really key question. Quote again, what if AI recommended that a commander-in-chief sacrifice a significant number of citizens or their interests in order to save, according to AI's calculation and valuation, an even greater number? This was the part of the book that electrified me. The thought that AI learns in such a different way from humans that it can contemplate tactics that any human chess player or general would regard as involving too great sacrifice, even if, from an AI point of view, those tactics would be likely to deliver ultimate victory. Tell us a bit about that, because it does get us, if not to killer robots, then at least to AI giving advice to decision makers that could involve shocking sacrifice in pursuit of ultimate victory.
So we've seen this scenario you're describing in movies a few times, where the hero is sacrificed because of the good of society. And so you can imagine looking at the way DeepMind played both Go as well as chess, that strategies that are seen as immoral might ultimately deliver victory. We also say in the book, just to take on your point, that it's possible that AI at some level will see realities that humans can't see. The fact that AI could discover moves that humans had not discovered in 2,500 years in a well-established game indicates that it may just be smarter, but it may also see things that humans will never understand. And that's, again, a speculation. So what we say in the book is that we really think society needs to put teams together to address these issues. We further say in the book, and Dr. Kissinger, who you obviously know extremely well and are a famous biographer of, believes very strongly that what we're seeing is a new epoch. He argues that there was this age called the age of faith. You can describe that for our listeners, which was replaced by the age of reason. Again, you can describe that better than I. on that was the key change hundreds of years ago that allowed us to get to the point of what we think of as today of human intelligence. He believes, and rewrote in the book, that we're entering a new age because of this unintelligible or perhaps ununderstandable capability that AI will have.
A computer program that can use unprecedented strategies to win a chess match proves that robots can see realities humans can't see, and we have much to learn from the robots. He explains that human intuition is often wrong and humans aren't as mathematically precise as we wish we were. For these reasons, a better future can be achieved by submitting ourselves and our society over to machines who are more precise and not distracted by pesky things like human intuition. After all, if artificial intelligence can master chess, why can't they master society? Schmidt inadvertently reveals what the future leftist utopia actually looks like. A world where we are under complete control of machines, which of course will be operated by elites. Schmidt's utopia is a place where some entity has complete unilateral control without any expectation to explain itself. Only a power-obsessed global elite would have such a disturbing vision. The real leftist utopia is complete control with zero accountability. When Schmidt is questioned about the moral aspects of these tyrannical robots who could make grossly immoral decisions because they don't have a conscience, Schmidt's solution is for society to put teams together who will address these issues. And who do you think will be on these teams that make sure the master robots will make moral decisions? My guess is that it will not be Bob the mechanic from Ohio, but global elites like Eric Schmidt, Bill Gates, and John Kerry, who we can trust to make sure that the artificial intelligence programs are moral and just. Schmidt's answer reveals his true motivations because in this scenario, the robots aren't the ones who are in control. The elites are. The artificial intelligence is merely a proxy for the elites. The future leftist utopia is a world where the elites rule by using artificial intelligence as proxies who can reinforce their lies and shield them from blame. The same way fact checkers protect media publishers by pretending to be an objective third party, thus adding the illusion of credibility to reinforce the lie, the robots will protect and reinforce falseness on behalf of the elites here. Just as Jen Psaki cites Snopes or PolitiFact to avoid explaining the incoherent or demonstrably false statements made by fellow Democrats, the elites can point to robots who are above questioning. Instead of Dr. Fauci lecturing us about how unscientific we are to challenge his flip-flopping and incongruent statements, we'll have an equally infallible robot who does not need to answer questions because they can't explain themselves, according to Schmidt. Any dissent can be attributed to the irrationality of those individualistic personalities who reject the science and reason of the robots. Are you getting it now? The real leftist utopia is complete control with zero accountability. It's perfectly understandable why an elite tech mogul like Schmidt would find this future where the robots and AI are in control desirable. Think of what we've recently been told by the Democrats in the media. Inflation doesn't exist, that greedy oil companies and Vladimir Putin are responsible for high gas prices and inflation, that men are women if they identify as such. Not long ago, they told us that COVID-19 vaccines prevent infection and transmission. They told us that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation, that the 2020 election was the most secure in history, and that Donald Trump was a Russian stooge. In Eric Schmidt's utopia, all the lies and frauds perpetrated by Democrats will finally go unchallenged. After all, the robots cannot be biased or have a political agenda. They can't be swayed by disinformation or conspiracy theories on social media. The king robots will not be accountable for the consequences of how they govern either. If people take umbrage with how the robots rule, that's only because we peasants cannot understand how rational the robots are with our inferior minds and emotions. But a few moments later, Schmidt references Henry Kissinger's new epic theory, that we have graduated from the age of faith and are now in the age of reason. For Kissinger and other high-ranking tech gurus like Eric Schmidt, our society graduated from the backwards ideas of religious faith and elevated ourselves into the age of reason. And we will soon move on to the next stage of human intellect, where our submission to global elites ruling us through software and algorithms and robots awaits. Apparently, the age of reason that we're in now is a place where men can be women when they decide to be. What's laughable about this whole idea is just because a robot can do impressive things on a chessboard, that success cannot be extrapolated to suggest the same AI will be qualified to govern people and societies across the world. Chess has a specific number of spaces, players, and rules that are very rigid. That is not how society works. The computer program likely has calculated thousands of simulations of chess play to calculate the moves with the highest probability of ultimate success. A computer program can do no such thing regarding societal matters. Can the computer also simulate societies, laws, cultures, religions, territories, and economies to determine the right course of action for tomorrow's America? Schmidt takes an example of a software program that has been developed to master a very specific game and extrapolates that success to postulate that this type of technology could rule us all and we'd be better off for it. But what is truly most attractive to people like Eric Schmidt is that he knows that those who control the robots will actually be the ones in control. So he and elites like him will eventually try to sell everybody that we should listen to the robots because they are devoid of bias, expecting us not to wonder or ask who is responsible for programming the machines. But this is the problem that I've had among friends and colleagues about these devices like Alexa and Google Home. It's not just the fact that they're creepy and always listening, but the whole point of these devices is to become the single source of truth by which they can control all information. Essentially, these devices are designed to cut in front of Google as the major source of information. Instead of Googling something where the results on the first page are carefully curated to push radical leftist media, asking Alexa or Google Home can provide you with only one answer instead of pages of them. Ask Amazon's Alexa to tell you everything about Muhammad and it will exclude all the murders and rapes that the New York Times or Huffington Post would also omit. But for elites like Schmidt, devices like these are not biased because they're only pulling information from trusted sources online like Wikipedia. So they remove accountability for themselves as well and expect everyone to assume the sources Alexa is getting aren't corrupt propaganda websites owned and operated by elites like Schmidt to begin with. The point is, robots aren't smart. They can only do what they are programmed to do. But an entity that does exactly what it's told closely resembles the left's current constituents. Thus, robots are perfect. Just as compliant as your average leftist while possessing the same lack of accountability to explain itself under questioning. What's important about Eric Schmidt's statements here is that global elites are trying to drag society down a road to a better society, but seldom explain what the end destination actually looks like. But thanks to former Google CEO Eric Schmidt, we know exactly what kind of society they are trying to build. A society where they have complete control with zero accountability.